Tune into episode 74 with Josh Poponick. He's not a billionaire yet, but he's tinting his way to success.
You're listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Joe Ferranti and Jerry Kenna. Produced by Nathan Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is brought to you by Duro Cleaners. Luxury laundry care conveniently delivered to your door. Visit durocleaners.com because life's better without laundry.
All right, Between Two Bridges, episode 74. Me, myself, Jerry, and our guest Josh, Blackout Tinting.
Yes, sir.
So, tinting business.
Yep.
Is it everything they show on the internet?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's a good business. Somebody years ago told me when I first started to not get into this business because there was no money in it. And I almost didn't because of that. But I'm glad I didn't listen to them.
Yeah, I've learned over the years, like, it's not just like high school kids getting their vehicles tinted. There's a lot of reasons to get a vehicle tinted.
True.
And you not only just tint, you just tint vehicles, right?
No, we do residential commercial as well, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it when we were building our house because our front side is like morning sun and we have like a bank of 4 windows right above the sink. And I'm like, they're the old like wooden Shash Anderson windows. So there's no real repellent on them. Now some of the windows, they make it with it on there.
Right.
But I was like, I should just tint the fuck out of these.
Yes.
Do weird things in my kitchen. Nobody would even know.
That's true. Unless it's at night. The light works weird at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It like highlights it.
Yeah, so if you have light on inside and it's dark outside, you'll be able to see through.
Oh, I do my best.
It's hard to see out. So at night, that's like a misconception we have to fight a lot. Still got to have blinds at night if you want nobody to see in.
So how'd you get started?
Good question. I've always been into cars. I grew up around them. My dad was into old German cars. And one day I was at work. I worked an IT job. Was making $10 an hour, and me and a buddy named Kyle worked together. We were at a little Chinese restaurant for lunch. We were talking about like, we wanted to do something to make some extra money because we weren't making anything really. At the time, it wasn't bad. I was 18 years old. Wasn't horrible. But we decided we wanted to work on cars on the side. And then we were like, well, what do you want to do with cars? And we started, tossing ideas around like, oh, maybe we could turbo them or build cars or whatever. Because I was into like wrenching on stuff, but I didn't like it enough to do that. And also we had no money.
Yeah.
So by the time we went back after lunch, we realized we're going to tint windows because we can afford to buy a roll of tint. So that night we asked our other coworker, John, we said, hey, can we borrow your car? We're going to tint. And we wasted the rest of the afternoon tinting windows. Sorry, Nick, if you're my boss, old boss, if he's watching. We wasted the rest of the afternoon watching YouTube videos, and then we tinted his car that evening. And I was like, this is kind of cool. We could probably make some money with this.
How bad did it look after you were done?
It was bad, but not as bad as you'd think. I actually ended up seeing the car, because then eventually I hadn't talked to him for a while. And I saw it like years later when I was in business for real. And I was kind of impressed that it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, because you see some rookie, DIY stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all you gotta do is drive down used car lots on 51. And you can just, there's like even my van, I bought a used transit van, and like, it's just bad. Yeah. And not only was it probably not good to start, you gotta take care of it. Like,
right.
You wanna like scratch your inside window with your key and shit like this guy did. But
right.
Yeah. So you decided, it makes sense. If you're going to start a side hustle with very little money out of pocket, tinting is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I think we had $20 in at that point. We bought a roll of Gila tint from AutoZone or from Advance and used a credit card.
Yeah. Dude, little to no tools. Cheap tools.
Right.
cheap materials.
Well, that's what I'm talking about for the credit card, the tool.
Yeah.
That's what we used to squeegee it. That was
debit
the only
card.
tool we had. Was the credit. We didn't buy it on a credit card. I had $200. I had $200 to my name when I started my company.
Nice. And so your first shop was the one in Latrobe, right?
Yes, but not the building that we're currently in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So are you from out that way?
I am.
Okay. So how long have you been in business?
Since 2011.
2011.
14? Yeah.
Doesn't that go fast?
Yeah. It's weird.
It's crazy. So how long did it take from tinting your first car with that credit card to deciding, fuck this IT job, I need to open up my shop?
That's a great question. That took a little while. So my goal at the beginning was just a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I thought if I could make $200 or $300 a month extra, maybe it could pay for a car payment. So at the time, I was driving a $700 Chevy Silverado. I had a 67 Beetle that I built with my dad, but it was like a project we worked on for like 4 years. It was my senior project in high school, and it was a nice car, but it was, it's a Beetle. I still have it. It was a Beetle. But the truck was like what I drove around, and it broke all the time. It was a piece of crap. So I wasn't like looking to start a real business. That was never really on my radar. Nobody around me really was an entrepreneur, so nobody really talked about that as a path. I was smart in high school, so everybody, you have to go to college. You have to go to college and go get this degree and go do this thing. Well, I guess, I'm trying to think of how long it was. A couple years really. It started in my dad's garage. So I just tinted, because I was 18 years old, I guess.
Yeah, everybody wanted their windows
when I
tinted,
started playing around. Yeah. And it was like this guy told this guy. And then eventually what happened is my dad said, hey, you got to start having all these people come to our house. Like, I don't like that. So I'm like, yeah, okay, Dad, I'll find a place to do it. I don't know anything about finding a place to do it. So my dad found a place to do it because he's like, you got to get out of here. So he went and called me one day in an afternoon and was like, hey, I'm over at this garage, which was pretty close to our house. It's a commercial space. This guy's name is Joe, and he said he'll rent to you for $500 a month. And $500 a month felt like $1 million. So I was like, okay, Dad, fine, I'll come look at it. So I went to look at it, and turns out the guy that owned the building knew my grandfather, and they grew up together. And we were able to do a handshake agreement for $500 a month, no lease, no out-of-pocket expense. He was like, you put up your own wall, because it had to be divided. Like, you put up your own wall, you do all your own paint and all that stuff, and $500. So that's what I did. And I had a handshake agreement there for a while. But to answer your question directly, I would say probably 2 years, but then I went to college.
Okay, so this was all before.
This was like, man, now you got me thinking. This was college. This was early college days, and I was also working that job.
Okay.
But then I continued to go to college because I thought this was still a side gig. And then after 3 years of college, I realized I was making more money tinting windows than I was going to make probably in a normal career.
Right.
Funny how that works.
So you're working your job, going to college.
Yeah.
Was it at that point Blackout Tinting, or was this just Josh's tin shop, your friends and family and word of mouth, tinting anybody that called, just kind of doing it as a side hustle still?
No, so it became Blackout. So I think it was March 2011 that me and Kyle started playing.
And was it still you and Kyle at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
And then August 1st, I think it was, of 2011 was our official formation. And it was Blackout Tinting at that point.
Okay.
But Kyle was a 50-50 business partner with me at the time. And we knew an accountant that was our friend, and she was like, you probably need to create a business for this.
Yeah.
And so we did. And then I want to say it was weeks. If Kyle's watching this, he probably remembers. But I want to say it was weeks afterwards that Kyle was like, hey, I'm moving to South Carolina. I got a job offer. Just take me off the tint thing. It wasn't doing anything at that point.
Right. He's gone? He's not part of it now?
No, he's not part of it. He went to South Carolina. I took him off. I became 100% owner.
Is he kicking himself now?
I don't know. I still stay in contact with him a little bit. Really, really good dude. But I do know that he went down to South Carolina, didn't work out there, came up here, we got a job.
Okay.
And he's made comments to me like, man, I should have stuck with you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the forest through the trees, if you could see what it is now.
Yeah, it's tough. The early days of any business, you're growing, you're trying to, and it's not just the early days. I'm sure we'll get into it, I'm sure, but business is never just an upward trajectory, right?
And who's to say if he stuck around that it works out as well.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. I don't know that it would have because there's a whole. I've had partners in other businesses, and actually I partnered with him on another business like 5 years later, which was an escape room, and we did that for a little while. So like, I don't know that it would have evolved into what it is.
Sometimes when you're calling all the shots, it's better.
It is. I would agree.
You know, especially if you're someone like yourself you have multiple locations, right?
Yeah.
You've seen, like, you've scaled because you scale. Not like you might have had a partner saying, don't do this. Like, well, it's not the right time, you know, like.
And at the beginning, the other thing that would have hindered me with a partner, I think, I did things that weren't logical to make it work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking there, but I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, no, you work like 100-hour weeks for no money. Like, I didn't take a paycheck for 3 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do that.
So if there was a business partner beside me not taking a paycheck for 3 years while we're paying the employees, at some point, you know, does somebody go, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't work.
And that's not always, as a business owner, we all know, that's not always a beginning of the time thing.
Right.
You know, sometimes you're years in and you're like, hey, I'm not taking a paycheck this week.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah, you look at what you spend on yourself through the business. Like you make a car payment, you know, pay a water bill or something for your personals, and you're like, oh shit, I just shouldn't pay myself because I've spent enough of the company's money this week.
Yeah, we're a little dry this week. I'm gonna, you know,
we've talked about it on here before.
Like,
Like Sarah will call me and be like, hey, do you know that we don't have any money in our personal account? And I'm like, oh. I didn't take one 2 weeks ago, and then I totally forgot to pay us this week.
Yeah, the personal account definitely takes a back burner to the business.
it does too. Yeah,
because actually they don't, like, when you're in business, if you're going to try to go do anything with the bank, they really don't care about your personal that much.
No.
They want to see it in the business account.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's funny hearing that because I just had I just bought tickets for something and I had to transfer money to somebody, and they were like, hey, can you transfer that money? And I'm like, yeah. I got to do it tomorrow. I got to put some money in that account. I said, I don't keep that kind of money in my personal account. Like I just
like
don't.
That Kevin Hart skit. I gotta move this money.
Yeah,
Dude, Sarah,
if I take it out of the personal account, like my wife's gonna go nuts because then she's gonna be able to pay the electric bill.
well, yeah,
like,
that's
I
funny.
can't do that.
I think about it sometimes. Sarah, like, just to get out of the house, she'll be like, hey, I'm gonna run and grab a couple groceries, and like I'll be doing something with the kids or like watching TV, and I'm like, all right. And then as she's there, I'm like, I wonder. I'm curious to see if she's gonna call me from the grocery store and be like, you know, our debit card's not working. That's funny. So like, if you have a partner, you can't have 4 people doing that.
Yeah.
Like you can't have 2 wives and a business partner all like.
Wives are scary in business. Wives of employees and wives of managers and stuff.
Yeah,
They can be interesting.
Yeah,
for sure.
They run the world. I mean, it's just we're catching up to speed with it. You know, you watch these like Mad Men shows and men think they ran the world, and it's like, wait a second here, fuckers. They've been running the world all along, so
It's true.
we're just giving them their flowers now.
Yeah. So Blackout Tinting goes from this $500 a month shop in Latrobe to now probably the most recognizable tint shop in Pittsburgh. I would say.
I think so.
It's probably that way because it's the most recognizable is like the premium cars. I mean, when you're posting on social media, you're posting some of the most exotic cars, and I mean, it's that way because of the premium cars, the exotics, and premium level stuff. So, how did it take that trajectory? How did you create that brand for Blackout Tinting, and how did you do it? How did you accomplish it?
Man, nobody's ever asked me that. Well, at the beginning, I'm gonna reference the beginning a lot, so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
A lot of Chevy Cavaliers.
G6s.
Yeah, a lot of G6s. A lot of really annoying things to tint. Sometimes we call them tax return tint jobs. We still get them sometimes, but that was like all we did. And so we never. I made a million mistakes, and we screwed up here and there. But like for the most part, we really focused on quality. Even when we were working on that, and it's still true today. It doesn't matter if you bring us, even though some people would accuse us of this not being true. If you bring us $1,000 car or $1 million car, I promise you we treat it the same. Every single manager, every single person in my organization is trained that way. So how do we build that brand? Really excellent customer service. I knew nothing about business. All I knew was I treat people the way I wanted to be treated. So if there was a situation where somebody got screwed and it was my fault, which happened, still does, we fixed it. And I think that helped launch the company. How did we build that brand? I realized pretty early on that social media was going to be really important. So this is 2011, 2012, 2013, like social media is really blowing up everywhere. And I'm realizing that it's important. Mostly Facebook. We didn't do much YouTube or Instagram at that point. I don't even know if Instagram existed yet, but I then put a focus on marketing pretty heavy. And like I have a full-time media guy, 40 hours a week. He's just filming and taking pictures and editing those and posting those things. So we're kind of everywhere, and we have high quality images and high quality video, and that I think helps represent us well. So that definitely tied into the branding. But I love cars. I love exotic cars. I wanted to work on a Lamborghini really bad. And at that time, the only real person that I knew with a Lamborghini in Pittsburgh was Dr. M3. And he still goes by that. He's become a really good friend of mine. But I used to like chase him around to shows. So I'm like this 19, 20-year-old dude. Like every time I knew he was going to be at a show, I would try to show up and I'd walk up to him and say, hey, I want to tint your car. And he'd be like, hey man, yeah, nice to see you. Like, and that was it.
Stay the fuck away from my car.
Pretty much. So what I ended up doing was when I was 24, I bought a Lamborghini. And once I did that, they all talked to me. And so like at the time, I kind of thought I was stupid, but also I didn't care because like I didn't really have any money before, and now like the bank says they'll give me this money for this car, so I might as well buy it. And I did. And what happened is like all of a sudden I was like in that circle. So I look back at it, and at the time I didn't know, but it was like a really good marketing play for me to buy that car. So I did that, and then almost right after that, we did an orange Murcielago for a friend. We did it for free. We did a ceramic coating on it and started posting those pictures. And it just kind of tumbled from there. Like once we got those first couple exotics, then we started working on a lot more high-end stuff. And I think those people realized we did do quality work. And then I eventually got Dr. M3, like a super weird roundabout way, during the Conor McGregor, who'd he fight? Boxing match. Like he shouldn't have been in. It was like,
Was
you
it
know what I'm
Mayweather?
talking about? Mayweather.
Yeah.
Mayweather McGregor.
Yeah.
During that fight, I happened to be sitting next to a guy in Carlisle that happened to know Dr. M3 some crazy way, and he pulls his phone out and calls him and asks him if we can tint his new Lamborghini next week, and he says, yeah. Like, it was like
Yeah, that's
years.
crazy.
Yeah.
So circle back. Now, I'm not a real car guy. So when you ceramic coat, is that a film that you're putting on, or is that like a detailed process with like a spin wheel, like polishing?
Yeah, that's more of a detailing process.
Okay, so you do both.
We do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that making that pivot, like just away from doing windows and getting into that, has made you grow also? Like finding new processes along the way?
For sure. And we've tried some that were really stupid, that we wasted a bunch of time and money on. We've kind of come to the core three, which is window tint, paint protection film, and ceramic coating. Those were definitely great add-ons.
Yeah.
But tint is still our backbone. And always probably will be.
You know, I didn't know if it was like I watched like, you see the videos online where they like stretch the clear film over.
Yeah, we do that too.
So that's a protective film. And
Yes.
then the ceramic coat's just getting all the imperfections out of the paint.
You get all the imperfections out, and then it's a liquid that goes on. And it's like a wax on steroids. It bonds with the paint at like a molecular
Yeah,
level.
so if you're spending $100 and a half on a car, you want to protect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just for your use, for the next guy's use.
Right. Yeah, resale value comes into play. Vanity, certainly you want your Lamborghini to look better than your neighbor's Lamborghini, that kind of thing.
We don't have that problem in my neighborhood.
Yeah, your neighbors do.
Well, my neighbor's good, yeah. My one neighbor is a Maserati guy.
Oh, shame.
What kind of Lamborghini did you buy?
Gallardo.
You bought a Gallardo?
Yeah.
Do you think that buying that Gallardo was do you think that was the major turning point?
I do, yeah. I don't know about... I can't say the major turning point, but it was important. There's another moment I can think of where my mindset shift went from this is a hobby to like, holy crap, this is kind of a career and maybe I can be an entrepreneur. There was like a moment where that happened.
Was that before or
was that?
after the Lamborghini?
I actually don't know. I think it was before. I know when I like know when that happened, but I don't remember if I had the car yet or not. I think I already had the car, or no, I don't think I had the car.
Tell us about that. When was that?
I read a book. It's funny, I'm wearing a 10X hoodie consequently, but Grant Cardone, you guys know Grant probably. We were always talking about that. I love Grant. Some people love him, some people hate him, but I started following him like really early on because I read, I think it was Sell or Be Sold. It was either Sell or Be Sold or Be Obsessed or Be Average. I think it was Sell or Be Sold. And it was that book that I was like, whoa. Like, I never talked to anybody that thought like that. And I thought like that, but I almost didn't even know that I thought like that. And then I read the book. I'm like, man, I think pretty freaking big. Like, I think I can do this kind of stuff. And that's when it happened for me.
Do you go through any of his programs, or did you just read his books?
No, I've done just about everything they do.
Yeah. I talked to one of his like sales reps for the 10X, and the problem with my business is like, there's no, I don't know. It didn't seem to scale to my concept, like with my customers, because like, you know, how much dry cleaning can you force someone to get done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like when they're talking those kind of numbers to get into that program, I'm like, do you realize how much I would have to get in such a small town to like make this make sense? Like, I'd almost have to go into a room with a gun and be like, give me all your dry cleaning to pay this bill off that they were putting.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Grant's, he has an aggressive approach, and I can see where you're trying to get that higher end, you know, tint job, higher end cars, where that makes sense, because people that drive those cars also, they might not agree exactly with him, but they have that in their brain of why they're chasing growth, you know?
Well, a lot of stuff I've learned about him too is in person, he's not that crazy. Like, he does a lot for attention on social media. I've done a lot of events with him, small group stuff, big group stuff, and you learn that a lot of that's to get the attention, but his programs work pretty well. We've done a lot of their sales trainings and things like that.
Yeah, I was talking to a kid from his program, like he was the sales rep, and he wanted me to give him like 20 grand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, we're doing like 40 a month.
Yeah.
Like we can't be giving you 20.
Right.
You know? And he's like, well then you're a loser, and like hung up the phone. And I'm like, oh wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
You started out on social media, you were using Facebook, and obviously social media has changed a lot. You have a pretty good following on Instagram. What are you using now mainly? What's your social media of choice today?
I still like Facebook. Most of our client base is slightly older. Like, we're like the 30 to 50-year-old, high income. That's male.
The people that can afford those cars.
And a lot of them are on Facebook. They're on Instagram too, but a lot of them still spend some time on Facebook. The younger generation doesn't. But that's, I mean, obviously we're in those places too. The one that drives the most revenue probably directly to us without having to pay, because we spend a ton of money on marketing, but YouTube has been freaking awesome. We put more long form content there, educational stuff, and we get a lot of stuff off of YouTube. And then a lot of partnerships on YouTube with big automotive YouTubers that leads to literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year of work for just those collaborations.
Yeah, I've noticed that you have a partnership with Horsepower Obsessed, right?
Yeah, so the Florida store is a result of just working with him on YouTube, us becoming friends, and then him saying, hey, I want to open a store with you. And I'm like, well, let's do it somewhere not in Pennsylvania so that it doesn't interfere with these stores, because I own these, you know. And so we went down to Florida.
Miami, right?
Yeah, north of Miami, between Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
Okay. So now you've got 3 locations: Latrobe, the one here on 910.
Yep.
And now in Miami.
Yep.
What made you decide to branch? Because the North Hill store was the second store, the North store, the 910 store. What made you decide to branch to that store from Latrobe?
That's a fun story if we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got it. It's a long form,
all the
babe.
time you want, buddy.
So
Thank you for listening. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Streamline your life with Duro Cleaner's complete pickup and delivery service. From your doorstep to their state-of-the-art cleaning facility and back, all without you lifting a finger. Get time back in your day and fresh, ready-to-go clothes. And just wait, big things are coming soon to make your experience even better. Visit DuroCleaners.com, because life's better without laundry. And now, back to the show.
So there's a guy named Luke that works for me. That's kind of my right-hand man. He was working my front desk. Starts out years and years ago. He started off as a seasonal detailer, and I didn't like him. And he worked for a season because he was friends with a guy named Vince. And I was like, we need help. And he's like, my buddy Luke can go. And I'm like, tell him to show up tomorrow. Like, it was so different back then compared to how we hire and stuff now. But so Luke comes in, Luke does whatever, and he's like not that effective. And he's like this quiet mouse kid that's in the corner of the garage bay and never talks. I go on vacation one day and I come back, and Nate, who's still with me, he's my tint manager now. Nate was working my front desk, and he said, hey, I got really busy while you were gone. The phones were ringing like crazy, and I handed it off to Luke, and he did really great on the phones. I'm like, the detailing kid that doesn't ever talk? He's like, yeah, I'm telling you, it was weird, man, but hey, I had no choice, and he picked the phone up, and he did great. So I went and talked to Luke, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about working in sales? And he's like, yeah, I love it. I like basically anything to stop detailing cars. So
This sucks.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I'm
Detailing
sick
sucks.
of being the detail kid.
Right, and this was after I didn't call him back. So he left, he did a year, and then it was springtime, and it was time for him to come back, and I didn't call him because I didn't want him to come back. And then he called me and was like, hey, like, am I coming back to work? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So this is like a little bit after that. He gets into sales, starts doing a really good job, and I start to really like Luke. We end up moving into the other building, and he finished school. He went to school for accounting. He finished school, and he was working at my front desk making $10 an hour. And he comes into my office after he has his bachelor's degree, and he's like, hey, this ain't working. Like, I gotta go get a job. I'm sorry, I like working here, but there's just not enough money. And in my head, I'm like, well, there's not enough money at the front desk to pay you anywhere near you could as an accountant, but I really, really, really wanted him to not leave. At this point, I was already thinking pretty big. I was already thinking about expansion to some degree, but not seriously. And I said, can you give me 24 hours? I have maybe an idea. I just want to kind of toss it around. He said, yeah, sure. So he comes in the next day, and I said, if I could pay you what you'd make as an entry-level accountant somewhere, would you stick around? And he's like, I don't know how you do that, but yeah, I like working here a lot. I don't really want to go anywhere. I just have to make money. So I get that. So I kind of laid out my plan, like, what if we expand and you take over and you run a store? He's the only person in my organization at the time that I thought could do it. And he was like, yeah, I would do that. I think that's a cool idea. So I started looking for a building in the North Hills area. I knew I wanted to be there. We were starting to get some clients from there, and all of them had a lot of money. So it was, a logical thing for me. I didn't do any like market research or anything. It was just like, there's rich people here. Let's go here. So that's what we did. And then some interesting things happened after that. He decided, I can't remember if it was right before that or right after, he wanted to be a state trooper. His cousin, who I grew up with, was a state trooper in Ligonier, in Latrobe area. He got killed in Ligonier. He ran into a garbage truck when there was like a bunch of fog when he was on duty, and he died. His name was Michael. And that affected Luke a lot, and he was close to them, and he really wanted to pursue that avenue. So he did that. And the timelines, I'm trying to like remember how this all happened, but he went into that and started that process and was doing pretty well through that. Then COVID happened, and COVID happened while I was looking for a building in the North Hills. And I looked at every building. The first place that we looked at was the one that we ended up with. My budget for a building was $300,000.
Bit more than that.
Yeah.
That building was listed for, I think, 1.6. My agent, who is also my brother-in-law, shows me that building first, and we leave. I'm like, Brian, you're nuts. There's no chance I can afford this. Show me something more reasonable. So we look around for a couple months, and I hated every other option. I was like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. This is, we're going to run into problems with this. And finally, after it was all said and done, he's like, you should buy that one in the North Hills in Gibsonia. And I'm like, there's no way. I don't have enough money. He's like, you do. I bet you do. And so I'll never forget it. I was driving across Route 30 by McDonald's in Latrobe, and something popped into my head. I want to be a billionaire. And something popped into my head, and it said, you'll never be a billionaire if you won't spend $1 million. And I like thought that to myself, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to what do I got to lose? Like, I don't really have that much going on. I'm pretty young still. So I call Brian. I say, hey, let's do it. So we buy the building, way beyond my budget. I basically spent my entire life savings on the down payment and prayed that we could pull this all together, with the caveat that Luke was going to run the store. So before I signed the papers, I said, Luke, I need your 1,000% commitment that you're in for this, because if you walk, I am screwed. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, what if the state police call you back? Because they were on a hiring freeze because of COVID. So he had no idea if he was in the academy or not in the academy. He went through most of the stuff, lie detector tests and everything, but they couldn't give him a yes or no because there was a hiring freeze. He's like, I'm in, 100% in. Cool. I go sign the papers and give him the check, and I swear to God, I'll never forget it. The same day that I signed it, I pick him up. We're driving up here with the keys to our new building that I can't wait to go see. And he gets a call from the state police in the passenger seat of my car. and they tell him the hiring freeze is over and he passed and he can go to the academy. And I literally just, like, my bank account's basically empty. I'm like, I'm going to die. I can't do two things. I can't be in two places at once. If Luke's not here, I'm toast. And he told him no. And they said, are you sure? If you tell us no, basically you can't come back. And he was like, yeah, I'm out.
I thought this story was going another way.
No, so I can't even remember what the first story you asked me. How did I end up with the second location?
What made you come out this way?
What made me come out this way was just the money, but what made me do it was the fact that I was going to lose Luke.
Yeah.
So some people are so important that you're willing to take a risk to keep them.
Yeah, I bought a building in the town that like my right hand man lived in, and he left.
Yeah.
It didn't work out the way.
It didn't work out that way.
Thankfully, I kept
I'm
mine.
still waiting.
He's still with me. He's dealing with the situation as we're talking. He's the man.
Now, how's that building working out for you? Is the location, is it working out for you?
Yeah, first 3 months we thought we were going out of business.
Yeah, that's the way it works, man.
And I was panicking big time. But while I was panicking, I was in Miami looking for a Miami location.
Well, the good news is you only had to panic for 3 months.
You're a business owner, so you're just a maniac.
Yeah, I was just turned up, and it was like, let's go. And then, there was a moment.
Are you in the whole building? Because that's an awfully big building. Yeah, man, you got a lot going on.
And we're pretty full, with the exception of the offices, because we don't have, there's cars everywhere.
Yeah, that's a awfully large building.
It's worked out really well for us. And on the personal side, the equity in the building that I'm accumulating is freaking awesome.
Yeah, because that whole area is like, it's always been on the grow.
Yeah.
This is a nice area.
Yeah, the whole area has been on the grow.
Right.
But like, it's different now. You know, like 20 years ago, it was always getting nicer. But like Hampton, that whole area is just a great area. Don't tell anybody.
How many employees do you have now?
Combined, about 28.
28? Yeah. How, when you started out, you didn't have business owners in the family. You weren't looking for that. How have you learned how to manage that kind of staff and build a culture and keep everybody working hard and working for you? And
ton of books, ton of podcasts, and honestly, Grant Cardone events. His classes, his events, his trainings. But also a ton of books. I read constantly.
I need to read more.
Yeah. Reading's good. We started a new thing where all of our managers, there's like 8 of us, we started like a manager book club, for lack of a better word, where we're all reading the same content now. Every month we're reading another book together about leadership and growth. And so everybody's starting to like really pull in the same direction because we're all starting to think similarly and think bigger.
Yeah, we had Brian Bursick on from Hemlock Homes.
Uh-huh.
And he said that like, that's what they do. They'll go to these conferences, they'll go to like seminars, but what they do, he brings everybody with him, the whole team.
That's smart.
And then when they come back, they pick 3 things, and then they like kind of hone in on one together.
That's smart.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing in any business. Like Jerry has a business, I have a business. We're trying to like get to kind of where you are, where it's like more. It seems like you have a management staff in place to like handle shit.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're still involved heavily, but like when you find those people that not only are thinking like, hey, we want to make the day smooth, but we also want to grow the business because there's light at the end of the tunnel for us. Like you get employees that are like, I just want to get this job done and go home. They're not going to grow your business.
Yeah.
So like my driver's young, and I like give him a long leash because like that's how you're going to learn in my eyes. Like you need to fuck up.
I agree.
Like he totaled a van. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to fire him like right on the side of the road with the police standing there. But you're like, you know what he's not going to do?
Total van again.
Hopefully he's not going to total another fucking van.
Right.
I'll give him 3 vans. If he's listening, you're done. But like, you got to go through this
3
shit.
vans is
like,
a long leash, bro.
Yeah, 3 vans is a lot of vans.
I think probably maybe 2 vans. A second
Were they
van,
all
I
his
think
fault?
he's probably.
Well, the first, he's only had one thing.
I think after the first
He's
van.
got 2 left.
Well, that's what I figured. I mean, the van that he wrecked wasn't new. It was on its way out, so he got a little bit of slack there. But I think that you need to let people learn in their field because like what you're trying to do is you're trying to build someone that understands what they're doing, right? So like you got to let guys like be the guy that's detailing in the corner and fuck up and not be great, and then let him learn. And now he's your guy,
right?
So like you're never gonna find we can't afford in small businesses to hire the guy.
Right.
You couldn't put an Indeed ad out and be like, I'm going to pay $185,000 a year and I want somebody to come in here and do what I do.
And then sometimes it's not about, sometimes you find that guy and you have that guy like Luke where sometimes he's just not in the right spot.
Right.
Or sometimes you hire somebody, like one of the things with me is that I hire the person and I train the person.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the loyalty, the dedication, the personality, the honesty is more important. And I'll train the skill. I'll train, you know what I mean? Like I need the background, right? I need the education. I need the understanding.
Right.
But I'll teach you how I want things done. I can train you, but there's certain things that I need to know. You need to be able to get along. You need to be able to fit in here in this environment.
Right.
You need to be able to adapt to the culture.
Yeah, the culture is a big one.
The culture is it's one of those things. It only takes one asshole to ruin the culture in a business, and it can't be tolerated. You know, you ever see that thing I see on social media all the time where the fastest way to ruin an employee is to tolerate a shitty employee?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, if I walk in and I see a shitty employee that's, you know, not doing something, like you got to find that person something to do or they got to go.
Right.
If a good employee comes to you with a problem with a new employee, and
you got to handle it.
Yeah, you so want to keep that person around because every employee, no matter good or bad, at the beginning makes your life a little bit easier. But like, even though like your life's easier, if they're dealing with a shitty employee, your good employee doesn't deserve that shit either.
Right.
So like one of the things I've done recently with the new hires, I check in with my girl all the time and be like, how's it going? Because like at any point she says this isn't working,
Right.
then that person's got to go.
Yep.
You know, because like the business runs with or without me sometimes can't be the reason that person stays.
Right.
You know, because like I got to get my hands dirty to keep my great employee good, then that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm sure you saw a lot of that because like it's like to a young 22-year-old dude, like I'm working in a tin shop, I'm working on Lambos, like they think they're in. And you've probably dealt with it a lot. Like we're dealing with a little bit more, like we're trying to hire like, I hate to say like more professional people, but
Right.
we're hiring more like goal-oriented people where like, dude, people can pull the wool over. Like people want to be around that. Like
Right.
there's nothing sexy about pressing the farts out of sheets or doing tax returns. But buddy, if I was 22 and you're like, you're going to toss me the keys to a Land Rover and I get to just drive it for a minute, like, dude, I'll take $1 less an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny to
There's
say
some
that because
different shit there.
for whatever reason, they still think that they should be paid more, and I pay pretty well, but that's a whole conversation for a different day. But to your point about training, I have 100% failure rate of hiring people that already knew what they were doing. And I literally mean that. I have never successfully hired somebody that knew what they were doing. They never work.
It's almost like all they have is bad habits.
Yeah.
I would rather you have no habits.
Right.
I can train you the way I want things done
Yeah.
instead of having to undo your bad habits.
Yeah. I agree. entirely.
Especially, and I can 100% agree with you in a field like yours, because if the guy down the street that is doing things and is not doing things to your standard, train that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have an uncle that is a mechanic and has a shop down the street from you. And I've did some work for him through college, and it's like, and I remember when, you know, I'm not very good at, but he showed me some stuff, right? And I wouldn't do shit for myself now. Like I take my shit there and I'm like, yeah, you do it. But I remember certain things like, you know, when he showed me how to do the brakes and put the wheels back on the car, you know, if you're not putting the wheels on the car and torquing those lug nuts, you put that top lug nut on and you don't tighten it so that it's hanging off that wheel.
So you know.
So that you can tell that they're not tight.
Right.
And then when you put them on, you torque them to spec, and then you take it for a ride and you torque them again.
Yeah.
And like, there are certain things you do that when I'm there and I'm in college, I'm like, dude, this is fucking anal. Like, are you serious?
Right.
But nobody's leaving there and a wheel's coming off the fucking car.
Right.
But whenever you hire a guy that's been doing it I've been doing this for 40 years, you don't need to do that shit.
Right.
You're undoing bad habits.
100%. Yeah.
And I 100% agree. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to get people that can, like, one of the things I ask is like, can you stand on your feet for 8 hours a day? I like getting people from fast food or like restaurants that don't want to do that anymore, because like now they're used to being on their feet, but they don't know anything about what they're doing. And then we'll hone it in. We'll teach you the way we want to do things.
Right.
Like in my business, one of the things that drives me crazy is like, if guys are wearing suits and their lapels are pressed down real hard, like not everybody's body's built the same. So like it might look good on you, and then Jerry's suit looks stupid on him, and so like we roll the lapels.
Is that a fat joke, Joe?
Buddy, it's all shapes and sizes. There's my first fat joke of the night. Boom. But like what'll happen is like people will be like, well, this is how I've done it. And they're just like jam, and they're like, well, they're fast and they're good workers, but it's like, that's just not what we do here.
Right.
Like, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And then now they like think you're attacking them. They take it personal, or they tell their old boss that you're an asshole. And it's like, well, we're just better than your old boss. So just knock it the fuck off. So yeah, I'd rather have people that are like kind of just willing to work.
Yeah.
Like in your business, like you got to have somewhat of an idea, I would assume, but like you learned it on YouTube.
No, honestly, I'd rather hire somebody that never held a squeegee before,
Right.
and train them how to do everything. The one thing that I do need is I can't work with people with a bad attitude. I'll fire you. I have a bad temper, and like I'll fire you in the middle of a conversation because of the way that you are.
All
like,
of our good business owners on here, and I don't consider myself a good business owner, but all of our good business owners that got a lot going for them, they are not afraid to fire a motherfucker.
Oh yeah, I'll fire people.
Dude, I will like drive you home from work when your car's broke down, and like buy you dinner if you blew your whole paycheck at the casino. Every business owner that we have on here that's doing things, they're like, fire that motherfucker because he spit on the floor, and I told him to pack his fucking shit up and go.
I think there's value sometimes to taking care of people the way you just described if they earned it.
Yeah.
Like I can think of 10 people right now that if they went and did something stupid, even if they blew all their money at the casino or whatever, I'd take them to dinner. And we'd have a conversation about why you probably shouldn't do that. But then there's a handful of others that like, you haven't earned it yet.
Yeah, but on the onboarding phase, like...
No way. Fun firing story. I hired a girl in Florida, and she came in and worked for a day, and she seemed to do okay. And then I needed to train her, but I also couldn't be in Florida. So I flew her up to Pennsylvania and was like, you're going to train in Pennsylvania with my guys for a couple of days. So she comes up, and I left to go handle something, and I got a phone call that she had to go back to her hotel. And I was like, why? Is she sick or something? They said, no, she had like an anxiety attack and said that she couldn't handle the stress. And I'm like, if she can't handle the stress of training in this easy environment, she is never going to be able to handle, running a store. So she was supposed to be there for like 4 days. And the next morning she came in and she comes into my office and she's like, I'm ready to go. And she sits down with like her notebook of all these notes that she took the day before in her hotel. And I was like, you can put your notebook away. I got you the next flight out of here. You were fired.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not a
Sucks
great
for
fire.
her.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't. Like, because that's the one thing.
Yeah,
when you have to fire somebody, it's better for them too. They
Right.
don't know it at that moment, but a week later they realize that it wasn't a good fit.
It wasn't going to
never-
work.
Yeah, that's a
it was
great
never
way to
gonna
look
Drag
at
it out.
Like, yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
So like now she's a year older with a lot more shit, or maybe buys a house because she's got this job, and then she fails.
And it doesn't work. Yeah.
And honestly,
That's
you
fucking
nailed
wild.
it.
Never
If she
thought
couldn't
of it.
handle the stress of the training,
Right.
she was not going to be able to handle the stress of the job.
Right.
I never even looked at it that way. Like
Yeah.
you're helping prolong. Like if you are too kind, you're prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Every day they're coming to work miserable. Every day they're saying, man, this job's impossible. Meanwhile, there's other people that work the same position that come in with a smile on their face and say, man, this is great. This is the easiest job I ever had.
Yeah. That's the way I felt about my business. Like I did jobs like construction and shit like that, like road construction. And like when I started working in the dry cleaning plant, I was like, these people are bitching. Like they're going outside to smoke a cigarette, and they're like, you're wearing fucking pants. I'm like, yeah, I used to wear pants, work boots, and a hoodie standing on fucking asphalt all day. Like this is nothing.
Yeah, there's levels to sucking for sure.
Yeah. Like as long as you can pay the bills, put a little beer in your refrigerator, life doesn't suck that bad.
No.
So Miami though, like you got to see the cars down there. Like, is a lot of your do you shoot just content here for your social, or is a lot of the content come out of Miami?
No, primarily here. Mostly because my media guy's here in Pennsylvania.
Okay,
He's got
I
2
didn't know if
kids,
he-
yeah. Miami. There's obviously some crazy cars. We've had a rougher time getting going in Miami than we did in Pennsylvania, for sure.
Really?
Yeah,
Is there more competition?
way more, and like 95% of them suck. Like they're just really bad at what they do, but there's so many of them that you have to weed through. Like, there's a sea of 1,000 people and you're waving your hand like, hey, we're good over here. And everybody's just like, yeah, you're just like the rest of the other 999 of them. So it's been hard. We recently teamed up with a guy named Felipe that I've known for like a decade. He was my first employee in Miami. I stole him from a shop down in Miami. We've been talking for a while, and phenomenal PPF installer, like incredible. Worked on like $50 million one-off Ferraris, like hand cutting on the paint of those, like incredible. He worked for me for a little while, got an offer he couldn't refuse at a Lamborghini race team. And then he was doing well there, but he asked me to grab a drink with him a couple months ago, and he said, hey, I'm thinking about going out on my own. What kind of advice? Because we were friends, and so I was giving him advice, and then we started having a lot of trouble getting someone to run the Florida store. And I had twins on the way. So I just had twins 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
And we lost our manager right before there was just no way I was going to be able to half live in Florida like I was doing and half run that store and come back here. The travel wasn't going to be possible. So it was starting to get a little bit intense. Like we were trying to sell the store. And then it all kind of came together. Like, why don't I call Felipe? Felipe wanted to go off on his own. Let me call Felipe, see if he wants to buy in as an owner. He already has the whole thing set up for him. And that's what we did, and it worked. And it's been 2.5 months now, and he is freaking kicking butt.
So are you still part of
Knocking
it?
on wood for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he just bought in as a partner.
So it's me, Justin, and Felipe in the Florida store now.
Okay.
It was the best thing, literally the best thing we ever did in Florida.
That's great.
Yeah, I was knocking on wood for you because if you have twins at home, man, you can't have any hiccups.
Right. And I was like, I was in Florida a lot. I had a house in Florida. I just got rid of that like a month ago because I was there almost as much as I was here for a while.
People hear that and they think, oh, dude, he's in Florida. It's like, yeah, he's down there trying to save his fucking nut.
Yeah. It was tough.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
3. Son that's 4.5 and twin identical girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
About to get real.
Oh man, it has gone real. Yeah. It's a lot of work. My poor wife is like non-stop taking care of kids.
Yeah. I've said this on air here before and I got some shit for it, but I'll say it again. I think there's only 2 things in this world that could ruin me right now. And one would be if something happened to one of my 2 kids, and the other would be if my wife told me we were about to have another kid. Like those are the 2 things that
I would agree with that.
That could ruin me as a human. Other than that, fuck it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, don't take away my ability to just go and work and I'll be fine. But like my kids are my world, but I don't want another one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know about you. Maybe you
Fuck no, I'm done.
You hear people say like all the time, like, well, man, I wish I would have had more. I'm like, yeah,
were you planning to eventually have 3 or were you figuring 2 and just like bonus?
No, we weren't figuring 2. So my son is from a previous marriage.
Okay.
And me and my wife's story is interesting. We dated when we were teenagers, and then we didn't for a really long time. I was married, she was engaged, and then we ended up back together and met 15 years later or something. And no, we weren't intending on having children anytime soon. Well,
especially not twins.
No, not so much at all, but without getting too personal, like we were making plans to have them in the future a very scientific way so that we could enjoy 5-10 years, without them. But we knew that we might want them someday. And, things happen. So,
surprise.
Yeah. And then two was really insane. I mean, one, we knew we were going to, keep them. And then we find out it's 2 and it's like, holy crap, this is going to be wild.
Like, maybe we could sell one. Yeah, we just keep one, sell one.
Right.
They don't need to know.
I know a family that had a daughter and then planned to have another child. and got pregnant with triplets.
Whoa.
And was like, oh. So now we have 4.
That's crazy.
I think I said that when we were in for the sonogram for my second one. Is they were like, do you want to know a boy or girl? I was like, no, I really don't care. Just let me know there's only one in there.
Right, right. Yeah, the doctor, oh man, she asked, Alana is my wife's name. She said, do twins run in your family? And she's like, no. I'm sitting on the other side of the room, like processing what that meant. She didn't get it. And then it clicks for her and she's like, wait, there's 2? And she goes, I'm pretty sure. And I'm over in the corner and I was like, pretty sure, like 80% sure. She goes, oh, it's more than that. And I was like, oh, here we go.
I'd have raised my hand and be like, you ever hear those stories where one eats the other one?
Well, that
what
was
are
the
the
thing.
percentages of that?
Yeah, that was that was like the next thing came out of her mouth. Like, well, you might not end up with 2. One might eat one. Like, oh, okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
My wife, that was her. She's like, well, you know, one could consume the other one. They didn't. Surprise.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how old are they now?
2 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm putting my timeline together as you're
Yeah, trust
putting
me,
your timeline together.
she's not thrilled that I'm an hour away from you in the evening right now when I should be helping her feed babies.
She'll get
but that's
over it.
all right.
We've been doing this for 74 weeks, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
we found a loophole. You know, I'll suggest to my wife, like, hey, Friday afternoon, I might go golfing. She's like, golfing? But like, never is she like, podcast. Like, what, we could be golfing right now if we wanted to. Like, this is
It's the
thing.
podcast.
It's like,
It's on the golf course this week.
we've talked about it a ton together on air and off air, but like this has become our therapy. Like you talk about your problems and like some people are like, I don't want to put that out there, but it's like, you know what? Fuck it. That's what we started this for. For sure. Like business owners and people that think they're going to get into business need to know that there's going to be astronomical problems.
Oh yeah.
Like big problems. And
I
not
had a
just
shop fail.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what do you think, like, now that you've been doing this, what's your biggest failure?
Man, there's a million of them. Biggest failure would be the shop that I opened in St. Louis. Like, I closed it a year ago. We were only open for like 8 months. So people look at me and think they're like, everything I touch turns to gold. Like, I promise you it does not. I was going to go to Nashville and I got some information. So I was studying areas in Nashville and I got some information that there was going to be a large opening in St. Louis for what we do, basically, that somebody was going to potentially go out of business that was a big player there. But I had to like move quick. So I did. And I think the location and everything, I think I did well. Like, and it was a beautiful spot, but I didn't have the people.
Yeah.
Like I had nobody in place and I had nobody that wanted to move to St. Louis. It was just like, we have this store. Now we have to find people to put in it. And so I have to hire people that don't understand my vision or don't know me, that have not been around for any of the ride. And I'm just hiring these random people out of St. Louis and trying to train them. And at the same exact time that happened, my manager that was pretty good in Florida quit.
Yeah. And you're going back to like now where like you have your way of doing things.
Yeah.
But when you're doing something like that, you need to hire people that are experienced in tinting.
And that's exactly what I did.
And you're just hoping
And
that
they
do
all
quality.
sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they sucked at their job or not, but they sucked working for me. So
what's that feel like when you're like, you got the investment, the building's there, you're missing the people, but you got to pull the plug.
it was hard, man. It was really hard. So I had 3 people on staff. I fired them all one time on a Zoom call, which I've never done. I literally was just called.
I'm afraid to fire one. He's kicking people on a plane. He's zooming them out.
Yeah, I call him. It's just like, hey, this ain't working. I got to close the doors, 2 weeks from now. And the killer is like, I have some money still. So like, I feel like when you do have to fire people due to a financial reason, like you're not producing for the company or whatever, they look at you like you're an asshole because, well, you have money. You're firing me because of money and you're driving a GT3.
Yeah, but we're not a 501(c)(3) here. Like, we're not a fucking charity.
And that's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, like each part of every piece of the business needs to make money.
Yeah.
So now I would say that was my biggest failure to answer your question was St. Louis. A lot of dumb decisions. I learned a lot of lessons.
That's like the biggest insult to me when people will say, oh, you're doing good. You own your own business.
Yeah.
It's like, you have no fucking idea what I'm going through. Like, you have no idea what it's like to take money out of an account that you said 5 months ago you would never let it go below X.
Right.
To put into account A to make sure that account's good. Like, people don't understand that part of it. Like,
No. Or you're at dinner at 10 o'clock at night and you're on the phone with a client because, I mean, literally as I was walking in here, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I know there's a giant problem happening right now in my pocket that I should probably be fixing.
do it on air.
But
Fuck
I
it.
can't.
We had Lou Biondi handling shit on air.
Yeah.
Do it live. Fuck it. Let's see you fire someone live.
I'm not going to fire anybody. No, it's somebody's accusing us of damaging a car today. We have really great 4K cameras on every single angle of every single building.
smart.
Like, you can see every corner. You can read people's logos on their shirts. They're so clear. We didn't do it.
Man,
Definitive evidence that we did not do it. He doesn't want to take that for an answer. Like, I have it on a flash drive. I'll give you the flash drive. You can go home and watch it. Doesn't want to take it for an answer. That's where we're at the moment. So,
well, that's something that like I never even thought of in my business, because like we're handling people's clothes, and mostly clothes, a couple $100 here and there, but we do deal with some $10,000 suits. So I never even thought about having like central focus cameras to like go back and look. But I had an old timer tell me one time, he said, you know, Joe, if someone brings a suit jacket in with the right sleeve ripped off of it, that's their problem. But if you rip the left sleeve off of it, that's now your fucking problem.
right.
And it's true. I mean, like people could bring stuff in for stains and we remove the dye from it, trying to work on that stain.
Right.
And they want us to buy them a fucking brand new one.
Yep.
And it's like, come on. You know, like we're trying to help you out here. But I imagine like it's the old like toe and hook kind of thing where like they knew that someone dinged the door when it was on its way in, and they're going to send it to you and put it on your fucking bill.
So there are times where I do think people are trying to do that, but most of the time I find that not to be true. Most of the time I find if they're accusing us, they actually believe that we did it.
Yeah.
And so we've put a million things in place. Like we have an online check-in form where my techs, as soon as the car gets there, basically they walk around the car, take a million pictures of it, take a bunch of detailed analysis of all sorts of things, and then it goes to your email as the customer. So like after you drop off, you see the damage report of your car in your email an hour after you dropped it off or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like if you have a Porsche that you just picked up from the dealership, and you know, I've said this, and maybe you'll appreciate this, and my stepdad taught me this a long time ago. If you're buying a used vehicle, no matter what it is, they should almost let you take it and wash it first.
Yeah.
Because you buy it and it looks so good on the lot, but then you take it home and wash it and you're like, fuck.
Right.
Look at all this. So like it was probably, like you said, it's probably there.
Yeah.
You know, and then it comes into your shop and now you're fine tuning everything and it shows up.
Yes.
But they've never washed the car.
We've dealt with stuff where people, I can think of one, our friend Nick had a delivery of a brand new GT3 RS, like a $300,000 car. He took delivery of the car while he was in like Europe and called me and said, hey, I'm shipping it straight to you. He hadn't seen the car yet. Well, I took it off the truck at midnight with the guy, walked around it real quick, everything looked great, pulled it in. Well, the next morning I come in and there's a giant gouge out of the wheel. And like, I knew I didn't do it, but also 12 hours had passed since I took delivery of the car. I already signed off that there was no damage on the car. So now what? You know, so the camera saved us in that instance as well. That was proof that midnight, the night before, there's this giant mark in the wheel as it was coming in. But well, yeah, that's one of the biggest problems we face is damage to cars that we actually cause. Huge problem. Which it happens, you know, 28 people running around, moving cars around all day. People do stuff. Or people blaming us for stuff that didn't happen. And when you're talking about like really expensive cars, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 cars.
Yeah, it's not you can't just go down to Advanced Auto and like fix it.
You can't get it fixed because nobody will touch it half the time around here. Like we did a Pagani Wire, a $5 million car.
Holy fuck.
If we mess that up, nobody will touch it. If you need to get a part for it, it's got to come from France. It's probably a 3-year wait list, and somebody from France has to hand deliver it and fly it over and put it on the car. Now you got to tell the guy with the Pagani, hey, you can't drive your car for 3 years because the part that you need is being handmade in France. Sorry.
Yeah, not to mention the diminished value.
I was going to say the lost value, that's the other big problem. Now your $5 million car is worth $4 million because there's damage to the paint that everybody can tell if they look hard enough, and you got a wrecked Pagani.
But
and it's on the report.
Yeah.
That's what sets you apart though, because like a lot of guys wouldn't even bring the Pagani into the fucking lot to do the tint. But once you do something like that you're setting the standard, you know? Like
That's a fun story. So that car was in Chicago.
Oh, so you fucked up a Pagani?
No, but it was in Chicago, and we wanted a really crazy car for the Pittsburgh International Auto Show. We always have a really sweet booth there, and we wanted to get something. I wanted either a Pagani, a Bugatti, or a Koenigsegg, something that was worth millions that Pittsburgh had never seen. So I find one in Chicago. We offer to do some work and trade. He says, yeah, but you got to pick it up. I have an enclosed trailer. I haul stuff around all the time. Nothing like that. I call my insurance company. I'm like, hey, I'm picking up this Pagani. He's like, what's it worth? And I tell him it's $3 million, $5 million, whatever it was. And he's like, all right, well, don't go get it yet. Like, I need to make sure that you're covered for that.
I'm going to need some time.
Nothing happened, so I'll just tell this story on air. But I go pick up the car because I'm not doing it. Like, I'm getting it. And I'm driving back, and he calls me, and he's like, don't put that car in your trailer. And I'm like,
Too late.
I'm like, well, Ron, I'm 4 hours from Chicago and 4 hours from Pittsburgh, so I got to go somewhere with it. It's already in the trailer. He's like, you are not insured for that. You're insured for like $2 million. If you total that car, like, you got a problem. So don't wreck. So.
The
You're
poor
like, isn't
bastard
that,
who
you're like,
owned
what,
that
isn't that
car.
what, yeah, you're like, isn't that what gap insurance is for?
Well, to be fair, their car insurance in that instance should kick in as like a secondary. They would
Yeah, if you
tap
can
mine
cover-
out,
yeah, cover
and then
the
they'd
first
cover
two.
the rest off of his. But that's not a conversation you want to have with a guy that's worth a couple $1 billion.
You should have just rented the U-Haul trailer. Be like, hey, do you want the
be
insurance?
fair-
You're like, yeah, I'll take it.
To be fair, you don't want to have that conversation at all with that guy.
That's true.
I fucked up your car. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to talk.
And I've had that conversation way too many times, and we still, I mean,
I mean,
good,
in my
but-
headspace though, like if you're gonna fuck it up, flip the trailer, total the fucking car.
You better be calling from the ER.
Yeah, insta famous. Like there's a Pagani laying on its roof in the ditch on 79.
Oh, it's like nightmare stuff. I had a guy wreck a motorcycle into a car in my shop while the owner of the motorcycle was sitting in the showroom. He pulled it in. It was wet.
Customer or an
No,
employee?
He was wet, and he like went to put his foot down. Foot slipped. He cracked the throttle and just whiskey throttled it straight into the side of a brand new Camaro ZL1. That was a horrible situation.
You're like April Fools.
I was in my office and I heard it, and I'm like, I know what that was. You know.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you think about that. Like every business has its struggles, and like a lot of times you're probably dealing with people that maybe made this investment because it's like the coolest thing they've ever done. And they're like, dude, we're gonna take it to that guy from like Instagram, and we're gonna do it upright, and then like someone just opens the door and bangs their fucking new Chevy Camaro.
And to be
like,
clear for anybody watching, that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it's
we
not every
work
day.
on like 7,000 cars a year, and I can count on one hand how many major situations there were over the last 15 years. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
One of the things that I've learned in my business is like, I don't pressure customers ever. Like you're either going to use me or you don't. Like you could be friends with the family, and if you have a dry cleaner that you work with, great. So I had a guy that like I really wanted to do his stuff, right? And I'm like, come on, man, I'm the best. You know it. Like I did his wife's stuff for years. He's like, all right, man, I'll give you a shot. So I'm like, all right, cool. So he like brings a couple suits in, throw them in the dry cleaning machine. Like nothing can happen. Like even if I get ink on them or something, I open the dry cleaning machine and the front of the suit, I'm telling you, it looks like Wolverine ripped it the fuck off.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, dude, I've never seen anything like that in my business before. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I gotta see who this is. I scan it, sure as shit, it's his. The button got caught in the door. So the whole hour and 10-minute load. So I just fucking ruined it. I mean, there's like no even fixing it.
Yeah.
Like it's fucked.
Yeah.
So now I gotta go to this dude that I just pressured for like, he would drop his wife's clothes off and then go to another dry cleaner. And it like irked me. But I was like, I needed to have this dude trust me. Like his wife trusts me. Like, why doesn't he trust me? And I told him, I was like, hey, I said, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, you're gonna get a new suit. And he goes, well, what's the bad news? I said, your other one's in the dumpster. Yeah. Like, I'm not even showing it to you. And he goes, are you serious? I'm like, I am dead serious. I'm like, it's fucked. It's FUBAR. Like, dude, there's no saving it. He's like, well, I have a good tailor. I'm like, nah, you could have the hand of God touch this thing. It's fucked.
That sucks.
So like, he went and bought a new suit, and like, he was like, let's just call it halves, because like I wore it and it was used.
Yeah.
Which was nice on his part.
That is,
and then
yeah.
he's still a customer to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found that too. If you handle problems the
Yeah.
right way, you'll end up with a customer that's more loyal than if it just went smooth.
Yeah,
For sure.
That was a tough eat too. I mean, that's back in the day when like I had just enough to buy myself a suit. Like, you know, I was pushing for customers. But I learned from that. I was like, don't ever pressure somebody into using you, because as soon as you do it.
I've noticed that there's times where when one little thing goes wrong and you start like, it just seems like
It snowballs.
everything goes fucking wrong. With that one poor guy, it's like
that customer.
It's a law of the universe.
It's like, man, I fucked this up so bad. Like, this doesn't happen very often, but I fucked up everything.
Right, yeah. It's not like I told every step of the way.
I've told customers that, like, look, dude, we're just not a fit. Like, the world just doesn't want us to be together. So have a nice life. Dude, yeah, it's so weird how that happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's always that one customer, you know?
For sure.
And like in like our shit, like we can kind of like work it out. But like, I mean, not too many people own 10 cars. We're like, hey, it'll be 3 years before you can drive your car again. Right. So like, I mean, honestly, your house and your car are your two biggest possessions you own.
Yeah.
So it's always funny to talk about the bad times when you're not in the middle of them. But apparently you're in the middle of one here.
Yeah, I mean, this one I think is relatively minor, but
they'll get over their Cavalier with their fucking little mark.
It's a nice car, but it's nothing crazy. And again, we didn't do it, so.
When's the last time you did tint on a Cavalier?
10 years.
Cavalier?
Dude, yeah. Well, that's what you got to start.
I used to do them all the time. I can
Yeah.
still remember what the defrost tabs looked like.
one, though.
Because I used to have to hand cut tint because I couldn't afford the machine. And the machines at that time kind of sucked. There was no good software.
Oh, wait. So these are pre-cut pieces that you're putting on?
Yeah, we have a machine that we have the year make and model and software and
No shit.
computer cut. Yeah.
Dude, I remember the first time I got tint was on an 05 GMC Canyon. And there were cut marks because he cut.
Oh, that's why my Transit is. Like you can see, like it's like a 1/4 inch down from the top, like it's all.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's like
Nice and tight.
It
And
looks factory.
don't have to use a knife on the outside of the car and all that stuff. Yeah.
oh yeah, dude.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so when I was at Corvettes at Carlisle, that was your guys, right?
Well, so my friend John owns the booth, and he invites Expel dealers from a couple different places.
Okay.
And we go out. So yeah.
Okay. So I was at Corvettes at Carlisle with my car, and Blackout was there, and I had my side windows tinted and my windshield tinted
At the show.
at the show. So
I'm probably the one that did it then, me personally, because for a while at Carlisle, I was the only guy that would tint.
was it you?
Probably, yeah. What year?
24? The white one?
Last
with red
year.
interior?
Last year or this past year?
Just this last year?
I wasn't there. That was the only year I've missed in the last like 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought that's where you guys met. Or did you guys meet through the real estate group?
No, I just messaged him on Facebook.
Yeah,
No shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think we've ever talked.
No.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
So
How
my
about
guys
that?
were there.
Yeah.
I think Nate was tinting this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it was you. I didn't think it was you. But yeah, you did a great job. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's always fun to like when you get into these businesses that like to maybe 80% of the world think that it's a novelty business, right?
Yeah.
But like, dude, guys in their cars, like, I mean,
Dude.
Jerry in his car, it's like a whole thing.
I can't wait. Like, as soon as things calm down here, my truck's going down. I'm going to have my truck done the same way the Corvette's done. And my wife's car's going down too. Because I drive my truck every day.
Yeah.
But then the days I take the Corvette and I get in there and I'm like, I love getting in there with the tint and it just, the privacy, it's just so much better.
So my new van came from the dealership. It's pretty dark. Is that something new that you're seeing?
Everything behind you on a van, you can go as dark as you want, and so
Well, it's not, there's no windows in the back of that tint, man. Is there?
There's 2 in the back and 1 on the side.
so your 2 front windows are tinted.
Yeah, it seems like it's when I'm in that vehicle, it seems darker.
Yeah, I mean they won't do that on a brand new car. There's a
No.
federal regulation against that.
Yeah,
but
let's get into
usually
that.
They will.
So this is something I remember from my 20s. Is like people would tint the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
They'd do like mirror tint, and they'd be like, "When I see the cops, I just roll the window down." Is there any truth to that?
Well-
What's the rule on tint in
Oh,
front
man.
windows?
Oh gosh, everything's a story. So the generally accepted rule is that in Pennsylvania on a coupe or a sedan, you can't have any tint anywhere. Front, back, nothing. On a truck or an SUV, you're allowed to go as dark as you want behind the driver. Or a hatchback is the same rule. But the real law isn't that. So the real law just says that you have to be able to see into the car. There's a guy named Ben Brubaker versus the Commonwealth. He fought it the whole way to the Supreme Court, and he won.
Good for him.
And they basically said that you could read 6-point font through it. And we did a little video on that, and somebody has corrected me. There's a couple lawyers actually that jumped on and told me that I'm wrong. That the particular thing that they charged Brubaker with was a sunscreening device code, penal code, whatever. But there's another one they claim that is actually the tint law, but most cops don't know about this one, so they do this one, and technically that one, they can't give you a ticket for tint because that went to the Supreme Court. So like, short answer in Pennsylvania, nobody freaking knows. So the cops realize that nobody freaking knows. Every magistrate enforces it different if somebody fights it. So we're friends with a lot of cops because we tint their cars. And they tell us like, if they need a reason to pull you over, if they think you're drunk, if they think you got drugs in the car, whatever, and you got tinted windows, you're getting pulled over for tint. No question. Right. But generally speaking, you're not going to have.
Yeah, cops aren't. They're not out. They don't want to write tickets. Like,
so we have another business me and my dad do called Blackout 911, where we build police cars, and we do a ton of departments, police cars and sheriff's departments, and we tint all of them.
Yeah, police cars are all tinted now.
Yeah. So when you build them out, are you doing like the logos on them and shit?
We do everything. It comes in as a Ford Explorer. We rip the seats out, put the prisoner containment, the light bars, the push bars, everything, every electronic, gun rack, guns. We upfit them.
It's cool. There's a guy in Lower Borough called Fund. They do ambulances.
Yeah, we do ambulances too.
And he did, actually, his claim to fame was he did the Dale Earnhardt ambulance.
Oh, interesting.
And then, like, so it works out a little different, I guess, with ambulances. Like, some people like the way they pay. So, like, he didn't get full payment for it. So, technically, it was still his ambulance.
Oh.
And then the museum bought it off of him, and they put it in, like, the DEI museum.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Lower Borough connection to Dale Earnhardt. How about that?
Huh.
Yeah. I've had tint on almost every vehicle I've had all the way back to my 05 GMC. Only time I've ever had anybody give me a hard time was a Allegheny County sheriff at the airport busting my balls because I was parked at the pickup.
Oh yeah, you can't do that.
And I was like waiting for probably my wife to like get off an airplane. And he was like, "You're waiting too long. You can't be parked here." And I'm like, "All right." And he's like, "You got to move." He's like, "Wait, this truck registered in Pennsylvania?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "This tint's too dark." And I'm like, "You just need to be able to see through it." He's like, "Put the window up." Put it up. He's like, "I can't see through it." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Do a lap." I'm like, "Okay." Yeah, I did a lap and he didn't give me. I didn't get a ticket.
I mean, I've gotten pulled over for probably 10 times, but I've never gotten a.
Never got a ticket.
Well, once I got a ticket once. I got pulled over in the parking lot of my shop.
At what percentage?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've never gone darker than 20.
Yeah, 20. I don't think you really ever have a problem.
Yeah, I've never had any problems at 20.
Oh, I love this show, man. I learned so much. Like,
yeah, I just stick with 20. Plus 20, I typically have a truck, so 20 matches the back.
Right.
So that's why I just kind of go with that.
Right.
So I went with 20 in the Corvette, and I think I did 70 on the front, on the windshield.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no vinyl wraps. Like, you don't do logos and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do that too.
That's for the other business, or
so for the police cars, we do printed wraps. The other shop, we don't do print wraps. So we'll do color change. If you want to change from black to red or do some crazy cool color, we'll do that, but we don't do print stuff. So commercial wraps, if you want to advertise your business on the side of your vehicle, we don't do that.
Because that's a big problem right now with vans. Like, the reason I bought the van I have now is because it was the only gray one that you could buy.
Right.
Like, you could buy a ton of white transit vans.
And turn it gray, yeah.
So you could come to you and...
Yeah, we could do that.
You learn something new every day, buddy.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for Blackout Tint? Because you're not going to sit stagnant.
Yeah.
You're not a billionaire yet.
That's not even close. Yeah. More stores for sure. We have a plan. I'm not going to tell you exactly where, but there will be another one near the Pittsburgh area in 12 months. And then an expansion plan from there. I've learned that we need to stay closer, tighter, like more like the Sheets kind of expansion where you know.
Yeah, to walk it back, I think with another store, like you're talking about having 28 guys running around cars all day.
Yeah.
Like shit happens. With a small, when you go with more stores,
yeah,
you're having 5 guys. Is that the concept, like where it's more couture, where like it's
we'll
smaller?
probably have some smaller, we're going to start smaller, that's for sure. Like in St. Louis, I tried to start big like I am here. Mm-hmm. And then I realized after, losing $250,000 that we needed to start small. And that's what I did here. Right. And that's what worked. And we got kind of lucky with North Hills that we kind of went big and it worked, but we already had a pretty good reputation in the North Hill area.
Yeah, is that something more like the North Hill store will someday be like the world headquarters?
Yeah, I would like to.
'Cause that's a huge building.
I have a trick up my sleeve in Latrobe. There's something on the table right now in Latrobe, like an 18-month time frame that if I can get that would be our HQ. It's a building that I've been looking at for a while, and finally it's going to come for sale soon.
So how's your relationship with like your the people, like your vendors? Like you got a pretty good relationship with them.
Yeah, we're like top 10 in the world with Expel.
Yeah.
So they love us. We love them. The interesting thing is when I started using Expel, they were like a $10 million company in 2010 or whatever. I became really good friends with the marketing director, who turns out is the guy that got me Doc to M3. That's
okay.
weird little puzzle. But the marketing director, and then he moved from marketing to a different position, and then we've had a handful of different sales reps, and then the sales rep that I connected with really well, his name is Chris, has become one of my best friends, and Chris is now the international sales director for the whole company. They're almost $1 billion publicly traded company now, so they went from 10 million to so like all the people in the upper,
Like
management
their OGs.
stuff were the OGs that I knew from back then. So like it's really good. Like if I go down to San Antonio, me and like 20 of my buddies are all going to go grab dinner together, and they're all executives at Expel.
Yeah. That's what I'm dealing with now. Like the vendor relationship is so important, like, and I have 3 vendors I work with, and one's like raising to the top, but like you're always worried that one's going to go out. But like if you're dealing with $1 billion company, you don't have to worry about them closing.
I think they're on their way to $1 billion if they haven't hit it yet, but yeah.
You should buy them.
Yeah. It's been really fun to watch their growth. And it's been fun to watch my friends grow through the company too. They, double, triple their incomes. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's all. It's always fun. I think that's something that, like, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, it's always the come up's fun, you know, where like, if you're just a person, and you kind of naysay and you shoot it down, but like if you're in the trenches taking grenades, you want everybody to come up with you.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Especially the original guys in your shop. Like that's what's fun, hearing the stories about your guys.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's probably my biggest source of pride in business is my core group of management, how they've gone from making $30,000 a year to over 100.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff is so freaking cool to me. I got 25-year-old guys buying brand new.
That was a big one for me. Like
awesome cars.
One of my like big steps in business wasn't about like new customers or growth. It was whenever my first employee bought a house.
Yes. When they buy a house, I get so excited.
And I was excited, and I was then like, oh, I'm so excited for you. And then I think laying in bed that night, I was like, oh, fuck. Now I got to pay for my house. I got to pay for this, and I got to pay for their house.
Yep.
But that's the shit that keeps you going, Yep. Like we're like in a little downturn right now, but we're working on it. And like, I'm so excited for the future of my business, where I haven't felt that way in 7 years owning it.
Yeah.
But like, it's fun time.
All right, so I got a couple questions.
Oh boy.
What's the biggest lie about detailing and tinting?
Misconception.
What's the biggest misconception
about our industry?
Yep.
That we are like blacking out a bunch of drug dealer cars. That like especially tint. They think that we're just like making everybody's like a bunch of gangsters' windows dark.
Yeah, drug dealers pay the bills too, though.
They do.
I love drug dealers.
Yeah, I don't mind them, but there's like 99.99999% of our customers are like wealthy business owners.
Suburban housewives.
Yeah, they're like 50-year-old women that are bringing in their husband's, Escalade V.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so funny. You think about it, it's like, oh my God, look at Becky's windows. They're so tinted. What are they up to over there? They selling drugs?
Right.
What's the worst kind of car owner?
BMW specifically 3 Series. And not M3s, 325i's.
They could just afford it.
Yeah, no, sorry for all of my 3 Series customers. Some of you are great, but a lot of you aren't. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
They wanted a BMW. They can just afford the $500-$600 payment for the entry-level BMW, and they think, and to them it is, it's a big deal, but they think it's like a Ferrari, and we treat it that way. But the guys with the Ferraris that can't afford them, they'll toss the 16-year-old their keys in the parking lot and like call me 3 hours later, be like, I gave my keys to that kid in the green shirt outside. You get my car? Like, it's just like a totally different
No
world.
employee here has a green shirt on.
Right. Yeah.
Frank's just whipping donuts.
Yeah.
Down at Target.
Is there a kind of car that you just won't deal with, won't touch?
No. Me personally, no. My tint guys, stuff that's old, the way that the glass is like set into the frame of the car and stuff is like totally different than how it is now. And they're really freaking hard to tint. So like I have a handful of guys, a couple guys that can tint the old stuff really well, but it's really hard. Like it will take an entire day to tint a 1968 Chevelle versus 35 minutes to tint a brand new Toyota. Literally, that's how different it is. So like we end up with a problem with pricing because we have to tell somebody it's going to be like $1,200 to tint your car because it's old. And they think we're just, being jerks, but it's just the time. So that's one of them. And no, I mean, there's not really anything else. Anything that's so old that it doesn't have patterns for paint protection film. There's only, really two guys that are really great at, three, counting Felipe, that can do that kind of stuff. It's all hand cut.
Cut it on the car.
Yeah, which can be scary when you're working on an old Lamborghini Diablo that's worth a ton of money and you're putting a knife everywhere on it. Like you better know what you're doing with a knife.
Crazy cool. Though.
All right, my last question. What advice would you give somebody young trying to get into this business and how to start out?
Trying to get into this business specifically?
Yep.
Don't neglect tint. That's the biggest mistake I see people making. There's a million people getting into this business, too many in my opinion, and they all go after PPF. And they do it because it's sexy, it's expensive. You have these $6,000 tickets. Problem is it takes you a week to do. It's hard to sell. Window tint, I'll take $2,000 in window tint over 10 tint jobs to one $3,000 PPF job all day. It's an easier sell. It's an easier customer. Everything about it is just smoother and simpler. I love PPF as well, but when you get started, cash in your pocket is tint for sure.
It's funny because like even with the what they call it, paint protection film, your job is to like not see it.
Right.
So you pull off and you're like $6,000 and I don't even see it. But like if you bring in a Toyota Corolla and you get it tinted and you got your 20% on your windows, you're like, this is fucking sweet,
Looks great.
dude. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Are you using a machine to cut the tint as well?
Yeah.
So your startup cost, if you're starting out, I mean, obviously some of these guys starting out are still probably cutting the tint with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
You could still do that, but a machine to cut tint, what's the startup cost? What's one of those machines cost?
Machine 7,000 or 8,000.
Okay.
It's not too crazy.
Is that the same machine that you're buying to do the PPF, or do you need a bigger machine?
Same machine. Well,
Same machine.
The one for PPF would be 7 to 8. The one for tint, if you wanted to get separate ones, would be probably 6. But the big one can do tint too.
Can do both.
So like a shop that's just starting, I start with, trust me, I have this all planned out. you start with one plotter, and that's the big one.
Just
it can
get the
do
big one.
both. And then as you get too much volume, where now the tint is clogging up the PPF plotter, basically, it messes with the workflow, then you have the second plotter.
You could just get the smaller one and then.
Yeah, and then that one just cranks out tint all day.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't on his list, but I'm going to ask a question. So if you could tint or do the PPF on any car in the world, what is it?
Porsche 917. Probably.
You a Porsche guy?
Oh yeah. Big
You have a
time.
GT3? Is that what you said?
I got 6 Porsches.
You have 6 Porsches?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, you got to practice on something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just be
I think
bringing
he's probably
customers'
getting
cars.
plenty of practice.
Yeah.
How many cars do you think you've tinted?
Me personally or the company?
Dude, I
You
saw
personally and then the company.
I saw this stat on his website.
Well,
Dude.
I think that's fake.
I don't care if it's fake. We're gonna say it's real. It's real. So this is a new thing that I've seen on a couple of different websites recently. If you scroll down, it gives you a statistic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it said that you have laid over 17,335 miles of fucking tint.
That actually might be true because the guy that's doing my website, I think he may have asked me that question: how many cars have we tinted? And we did an average. But to answer your question, I've asked myself that before. I think around 15,000, me personally,
Okay.
because I tinted consistently. Like I was the tinter for like 8 years, and we tint a couple thousand cars a year. I had helpers. I had other tinters working with me, but I still tinted basically every car. till like 2018, 2019.
It's like, that's something like modern technology you love, because we had the preferred nanny on, so they place nannies, right? And Jerry asked the question,
I just hired a nanny.
how many, well, they place nannies professionally.
Full-time nannies.
I just got one.
So they, like, how many people have you placed? And they were like, they hemmed around about it. And I was like, cut the tape. Let's rewind. Let's just do the Big Mac theory. Be like, 1 billion burgers sold.
Right.
So it's a great marketing ploy because it makes you think like Tim, the potential customer, doesn't really care about the number. He just likes to see the number.
Yeah.
And he likes to say, my guy has done 1 million tax returns, right? Yeah. My guy has pressed 10,000 pairs of pants this year.
Now we'll tint between 2,500 and 3,500 cars per shop per year now. That's kind of where our current volume is. So 3 stores, almost 10,000 cars a year.
It's so cool to hear about businesses you have no clue about. Like, like I enjoy it. Like, I'm not going to open a tint shop in Latrobe anytime soon because I think you got it on lockdown.
Yeah, I was going to say good luck if you do.
Yeah, I think it's be tough to compete.
We're pretty dominant.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I think throughout, like, just kind of following your website a little bit, like I had a storefront on McKnight Road, and man, I fucking hated the sun, but I also hated to draw the blind because it looked like you were closed.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, a mirrored tint on that would have been the answer. Maybe I'll go back and open up. There you go.
Yeah.
They still haven't rented the space.
Yeah. See if they'll do
I
it
had to
you
be
for-
out by September, but it's still vacant.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm gonna hit you guys up as soon as tax season's over and I can free up some time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring my truck down and then I'm gonna bring my wife's SUV down, get some tint.
you got a week left, buddy, when this
couple-
airs.
yeah.
So, man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is awesome
thank you for
getting
having
to know
me. I enjoy stuff like this a lot.
Yeah, it was awesome. So if anybody wants to get to know you, find your social medias, website.
Itching to get their Cavalier tinted.
Yep. Yeah, social media, website's blackoutempire.com, and all of our socials are Blackout Tinting. Except for Facebook. If the guy that owns the Blackout Tinting Facebook would sell to me, that would be great. He won't.
He won't do it.
He has like 200 followers and posts like once every 3 years.
He won't give it up.
He won't give it up.
So what's it on Facebook?
Blackout Tinting PA, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find it. If you Google if you look out in the search Blackout Tinting,
it wasn't
we're going to
hard.
be the one to show up.
When I was looking for you, it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
You do a good job.
Thank you.
So, thanks for this, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.
How the fuck are you going to do this to me? You can't fuck with my swag here. I had it.
You didn't have it.